Now we're gonna move on to our final cooking technique. This technique is called pan searing. This is when you use a saute pan on high heat to sear your meat and make sure that your meat is nice and brown and the juices are sealed to then move on to the oven. What you will need is a measuring spoon. Of course, you'll need a saute pan, some chicken breast, washed chicken breast, some black pepper, some salt, some mixed herbs for seasoning. You can use any seasoning you'd like. I like to have a rubber spatula handy anytime I'm working with a non-stick pan. This helps prevent scratching the pan and preserves the pan for longevity. You always need a thermometer when you're cooking chicken because it can be very dangerous when you're eating chicken and it's not cooked to the right temperature, which is 165 degrees Fahrenheit. You need some tongs. I use tongs every single day in the kitchen. If you don't own a pair of tongs, I suggest you buy them and start using them. They're very helpful. And of course, you need a plate to serve your chicken. Now that you're ready to get started, your pan is nice and hot. I like to have it on high heat to begin with when it comes to pan searing. And I like to put my oil in there, always measuring the oil because you don't want those extra calories that oil can have. And that's how oftentimes at restaurants you get hidden calories because you don't know how much oil they actually use. But when you're cooking at home, healthy, delicious meals, you know exactly what you put in it and you have control of the calories and nutrients you put in your food. And here you have your chicken is nice and clean. I'm gonna throw this away. See, the oil is smoking a little bit and you want it to be at that smoke point. You don't want this to be cold. The chicken will release the juices into the pan and then you won't create that sear that you want. If it's smoking too much, I just go ahead and lower the heat a little bit while I season my chicken, but I always like to have my pan already prepared and ready to go. And I want to add some herbs on my chicken, whatever seasoning you want. I like to add some, remember not to double dip, I almost did, but remember not to double dip when it comes to your herbs. If you touch your chicken, make sure that you use your other hand or wash your hands and then continue to season your chicken. Some paprika, some chili powder, some parsley, onion powder, garlic powder, salt, pepper, and voila! You have perfectly seasoned chicken. Once you put your seasoning all over your chicken breast and the chicken breast is fully coated with your seasoning to include salt and pepper, you want to continue to heat your pan. I want to show you something. This side of the chicken is at the actual presentation side. So when you go to a restaurant and you buy a chicken breast and it looks perfect, nice and golden brown, it's always on the fatter side of the chicken. This side that has a crease in it is not the right side to start cooking the chicken because you're going to get the better sear on that presentation side. I immediately move into my oil. I want that sizzle. That sizzle tells me that the pan is hot enough and that my chicken will not release its juices into the pan, therefore it will be nice and juicy. Get a nice coat, make sure I get everywhere. My husband loves seasoning, so I have to make sure I season my chicken really well to make sure he doesn't complain about the lack of fat in my skinless, boneless chicken breast. You don't want to overcrowd the pan, so this is exactly what I want. I want to have space in my pan, I want to have some smoking, and I want some sizzling going on when I'm pan searing my chicken breast. Now my chicken is in the pan. As you can tell, there's no juices in the pan. I want to keep my heat consistently at medium-high heat. Sometimes I like to start on high and then move on to medium-high to make sure that my chicken is cooked nice and thoroughly, but the juices do not release into my pan and then create dry chicken. And now I want to turn my chicken once it's seared on one side and continue to cook for about 5 to 10 more minutes, depending on the thickness of the chicken. Smells so good. Can't wait to eat. I went ahead and I cooked some chicken because due to time reasons. I cooked it ahead of time with a different herb seasoning. And I want you to make sure to always switch your tongues when you're going from handling raw chicken to cooked chicken. These tongues are nice and clean and sanitized. You always want to take the temperature of your chicken at the thickest part and you want to hold it until it reaches the highest temperature, which in this case should be 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Perfect. This chicken is perfectly ready, and then I'm going to temp this other chicken breast. Remember, All chicken breasts have different thickness, so you don't want to get confused and temp one and not the other. You want to make sure that all the chicken breast is temped at the right temperature, 165 degrees. If that's not the case, you can always put it back in the pan, or you can just finish it in the oven. Perfect. Now my chicken is 165 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm ready to rest it for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll be back to showing you how to cut the chicken so that it stays juicy and delicious. Perfect. My chicken has rested and now it's ready to be cut. I want to show you how I cut my chicken and how you should cut your chicken in order to maintain the juiciness of it. I want to cut the chicken from the smallest part to the biggest part at a bias. At a bias just means against the grain in a slanted position. As you can see, my chicken's thickest part is here and the skinniest part is here. And I want to hold my knife always with a pinch and grip. Thumb and index finger on the blade and my other fingers tucked under. Realize that I'm wearing gloves to cut this chicken because remember, ready to eat food is always to be handled with gloves. So I'm gonna use the claw grip and hold my chicken, still a little hot. I'm gonna make sure it stays in the same spot. If you can see, my chicken is nice and moist. I love that. This is absolutely delicious, and many times I teach people how to do this and they won't believe how moist this chicken can be without the skin or the bone. Granted, bone meat is usually juicier, but if you use the right cooking technique, you can achieve a great moist chicken breast without having the extra fat and calories.
So thank you again for being here, for allowing us to show you our passion of cooking and being able to teach you guys as well. Thank you for the faculty here at Keiser University. We also want to thank Focus for allowing us to use their awesome facility here to cook. Again, we want to congratulate you again for being here. It's going to be a struggle, but you guys can do it. So thank you again, and welcome to the Keiser University BSDM program here in Lakeland, Florida.